everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Jennie and Friends. My name's Jennie. As I said, this is the first episode today, so you're going to have to bear with us because we're going to try and get everything right the first time, but I don't think that's going to happen at all. But you'll see today we've got John. I'll pass over to John just to introduce himself and who he is and what he does.
So I'm Johnny, aka the Notorious, so I'm a part-time streamer, hoping to go full-time at some point. But yeah, I predominantly play Call of Duty, and that's me.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's always a little bit awkward sometimes. I find it awkward sometimes when I'm trying to introduce myself. You've got to be like your own hype man, right?
Yeah.
Which is quite difficult, I think, a lot of the time anyway. I have a question for you straight off the bat, actually. Where does the Notorious come from?
So a lot of people will say it's because I resemble Conor McGregor.
Oh, yeah.
And he calls himself the Notorious. But I'm a lot older than him. And I've had this gamer tag for years.
So he stole it off you?
Yeah, he did. He stole the top knot off me. I swear, McGregor must have had people following me around because...
Do you think that's what it was?
The resemblance. I was going for some like Viking look. I had long hair and I shaved it off. And then next thing, this dude just rocks up in the UFC. And everyone's like, oh, he looks like you, Johnny. So yeah, but it came from the Notorious B.I.G. really.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
One of my best friends, he now lives in Australia. He's my daughter's godfather. I've not seen him for like 16 years. But he got me into like old school rap with like NWA and Biggie. So yeah, it came from there all them years ago.
It's weird, isn't it? I think like sometimes, like I mean, like my gamer tag in particular actually changed just before I started doing all of the streaming stuff, and it was mainly because my gamer tag is just not family friendly or wasn't family friendly at all. Like it came from it's genocide. Do you know what I mean? Which is terrible. But it was like way back in the days of like clan battles and all that stuff on COD 4, and it was So I think a lot of people say, and also one thing I get all the time is like, you're a bloke. Like, yeah, I know, because Jennie obviously is not a bloke's name whatsoever, which is a bit strange.
But it's sort of like it makes people ask a question. I visit Turkey quite a lot on holiday. Going way off subject, but we'll make it quick. And there's a restaurant. There's a restaurant called the Three Bells, but they've got the picture is 4 bells. So obviously that instantly makes people go, "Why is it called the Three Bells and there's 4 bells?" Instant. So yeah, I think you've got quite a good gamer tag there, really, mate.
Yeah, it wasn't by design by any stretch. I changed it to just Jennie, and obviously when I was trying to look at. Because I think, as everyone does, and we'll get into this in a moment, but as everyone does, when you're trying to start out doing something like this, I don't know if people do it with vengeance. Like I sort of like started just because I thought, oh, fuck it, I'll give it a go, whatever, Whereas I don't know if there's there's a path to getting there. But one of the things, first of all, was like Jennie's not good enough, is it? And then you start typing in Jennie on YouTube, and you've got all of these people called Jennie that are doing all sorts of shit, home cookery videos and all that, and you think, well, I need something that's synonymous with me, right? Something that's my brand, which is quite difficult to find in today's age. How did you find starting streaming? How did you sort of get into it?
Well, 2018, another long story we'll cut very, very short.
We got time.
I played PUBG at quite a significantly high level. We'd play in tournaments. We were, so my name actually used to be on PUBG. It was Bot Notorious because we were part of the Bot clan, and our clan was sort of like quite well known. And from there, I'd obviously streamed through my Xbox on Mixer in 2018.
Mixer.
But then PUBG is terribly optimized anyway, but on console it was terrible. So along came the PC build, and then it sort of spiraled from there. Thousands of pounds later, multiple cameras, multiple microphones. It just spiraled, and then I hosted tournaments, and I'd sort of my job changed, and I just knocked streaming on the head because of my career, really. But then I came back in January, mainly because of just watching other TikTok streamers like yourself, mate.
Yeah, I think, it was a weird I sort of feel the same. I used to play. I mean, I feel like I've always played games, right? And certainly, like, I mean, obviously, there's a bit of an age difference between you and I, but I feel like my dad had like Tomb Raider 1 and 2 on the PC and stuff, and I remember playing that in like, you remember, like, gone are the days where you used to have a family PC.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, and everyone had the one that you had access to just your emails, maybe an AOL type situation there, and that was it.
yep.
But I remember like playing Call of Duty coming up, and my missus just, I'll be deadly honest with you, my missus just forced my hand into this. I've always wanted to do it. I was bang in love with, like, I remember back in the day, like using a Dazzle capture card to try and get some stupid Call of Duty 4 montage clips and
Yeah,
stupid shit like that, and never really
yeah.
took off, never really did anything with it. But yeah, when I sort of came to, because I've always been a console player myself, I was Xbox originally, and then PlayStation most recently, PlayStation 5, and then when I decided I wanted to do something like this, which was, I think I started my first stream on TikTok was February, I think. So we
Wow,
are.
okay.
I think, yeah, it was very, very soon, very or recent, I should say. But yeah, I wanted to do it for ages, and the missus was the main driving force behind it.
Oh,
She's like,
mate.
go do it, yeah, which is super cool, really, because I think quite often, I don't know about you, and actually, this is a question for you. If, like, when you say to people that you do something, right, especially when it comes to sort of streaming, what's the sort of response that you get from people when you say that you do that?
Do you know what? People just think like, grow up. That's it.
Yeah.
That's like,
Agreed.
they're like, Johnny, you're nearly 40. Come on.
Yeah.
But there's so, I've had this conversation quite recently, actually, only yesterday with my missus, that social media and people's perspective of it is like, oh, you can't do it. But there's so much to do. And like, your character is 100% what it's about. It's not about which
Sure.
game you play. It's nothing like that. So yeah, my mum, for instance, my mum's like still playing that bloody computer because my whole life I have played computer games.
Yeah.
I've secluded myself from, I honestly say, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, whatever. So 2011, Call of Duty saved my life, really. And I could go on and on and on about people's perception of like gaming and what it does for you. It is a massive benefit for mental health.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree with you more.
Especially when gaming alone, I can understand. If you're gaming alone and you're closing yourself away from society, but gaming with friends and a community is massively like beneficial to mental health. And I'm an advocate for that big time. So people's perception of gaming really annoys me with, So yeah. Sorry.
No, I agree. I think like you hit the nail on the head there in saying it saved your life. And I think for some people sometimes it can be that can sound quite dramatic, right? It sounds quite a lot, but actually coming from without getting into it too much, I was on the brink of, I was addiction. I was drinking an awful lot. I was narcotics, everything else, extracurricular activities, doing an awful lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing. And my constant throughout all of those years was always games. And I found that when I had to stop because I was just, it was crazy. The one thing that I could always fall back on and rely on, obviously I had a good support network of people. Of course you do. I think everyone, well, I'm very lucky to have that, but I'd like to think a lot of people do. One thing that was definitely a constant was the games. And I think, and that's why I asked the question around what do people think about it? Because my mum's the same. Like, I mean, especially like recently, I've sort of taken this leap to try and do this sort of full time and have a go at it. I've not done it without knowing that there's a serious risk there, right? It's not. Of course, yeah. There's a lot to be taken into consideration. Yeah. But I think the general consensus of people that haven't been part of the gaming, let's say a revolution, whatever you want to call it, they think that it's childish, immature, waste of time. I get a lot of where your eyes will turn square, or that's why you get headaches. Yeah, all of that sorts of like bullshit housewife tales, of like stuff. I was saying to my old this morning, I couldn't sleep last night. She's like, it's because you're on that bloody game until late. You're like, well, yeah, I might have been on it till late, but I couldn't sleep after. I wasn't trying to sleep whilst playing. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, so, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it does sort of get that way. And I think this is actually partly one of the reasons I wanted to do something like this. I think what we I think what is seen quite often, especially from a streamer perspective, and I'd love to know your perspective on this, but when you're streaming, it's fun time, right?
Mhm.
Like it's you've got an audience, you've got games, you've got people, you've got gifts, you've got noises, you've got sounds, you've got all of this stuff going on, and the whole point of it is that's your space, right? You want to create
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that experience for people, but actually after the fact, to find that there is enough to be a full time job here. There's so much that
Yeah.
you could be doing.
A lot of people do not understand the work that goes in after you stop streaming.
Yeah.
Um, and I still work a full-time job as well, and I find it really hard to keep up with like the content, creating the TikToks, and I'm not even ventured down the YouTube channel way
No.
yet, and it's stress. It's not stressful. It's that I think you just constantly feel tired,
Yeah.
because you're constantly trying to think of, what do I need to upload? Or for instance, I'm fed up of seeing these videos with the meta builds when I've seen 15 other people do them. But
Yeah.
you've got to be so quick to be the first person to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the stresses come from, is creating the content before other people do, because there's competition. There's competition,
Oh,
isn't there?
it's heavily it's so heavily competitive when it comes to creating content in particular. I mean, I try and post sort of once a day on the TikTok stuff, get something out there. I think
Mhm.
sometimes I see particular streamers like I don't know, I don't know if you've seen like the likes of Rasclat
Uh-huh.
or like Cryptics or someone like that. Cryptic seems to have a pretty good YouTube presence. He seems to have a pretty good handle on
Yeah.
what goes well, and what works.
Uh-huh.
I certainly feel like there's some sort of silver bullet that certain people have, certain people don't. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it feels like there's something that I don't know. And
Uh-huh.
when I do know, when I get there, I think that's going to be cracking the egg on it. But I think you're so
Mm.
right with the competitiveness. Like I know some people that are out there, like are only playing Call of Duty on a Wednesday when the drop happens for like the new
Yeah.
max challenges and stuff, because
Yeah.
that's the only time that they're going to be able to create any
Yeah,
content.
yeah, yeah.
And it could be really, I think it's you say stressful, I say all encompassing. I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's everywhere all the time, and I'm
Yep.
always thinking about it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know. I either really excited to get onto stream, or I feel like, oh, this would be a really good video idea. But then once
yeah.
I'm on there getting the content, then I have to edit the content, then I have to make sure it
Yeah.
works on all. There's so much to it. But I mean, look, sat here crying like it's a really shit job. It isn't by any stretch, right? It's like
No,
one of the most fun things you can do. But I definitely think it's a labor of love, right? It's
Yeah,
something that you
100%.
have to love doing.
Of course, yeah. And it's something quite new to me as well, with regards to like, I think I'm quite tech savvy. But then
I
you see,
think.
you see some of these videos and the content that people are putting out, and you're like, how have they done that? How have
Yeah.
they
Yeah, yeah.
done this? And going back to like certain streamers, I honestly believe that they I've got moderators that are quite willing to put a bit of effort in for
Yeah.
no monetary sort of
Yeah,
gain
yeah.
for them. They just do it to help. But I genuinely think the next step for yourself, or for me, that would go forward, would be to have some sort of social media whiz who can accommodate you with
Yeah.
all your sort of clips and stuff, and just throw them out there.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what they do. I watch like big time streamers like Tim Tapman, for instance, and Nick
Yeah,
Merckx.
yeah.
He's got his video guy
Oh, you got
on
a
his
team of people.
stream every
Just teams.
time. Yeah, and it's that's the next step, isn't it?
I think
and I
so.
think by doing that, then the quality of your sort of not your stream, but the videos you're creating up as well, don't they? Because I see a lot of people that are really trying, and I message a lot of them on Discord. I'll help anyone out. They message me, I message
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
and giving them tips on like their setup, for instance, how their background it's a bit dark, or that they need to move the camera.
Yeah.
Move the camera to bring the
Simple
room
stuff.
into it, or yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think
it's
there's definitely like you say about the quality going up. I think because it may, although I think quality in terms of what you're producing and how you're producing it definitely does. But I think by not having to worry about the editing of it in particular and outsourcing it, it's naturally going to go up anyway, right? I think there's so much in a stream that happens. Like if you're streaming for I know you put some serious hours in, right? 12-hour shifts, right? But if you're streaming for 12 hours, it's only natural that even if you were the worst player in the world, you're going to get some, because a broken clock's like twice a day. So there will be something that works there. I think it's about, you're right, it's about the editing. It's about, I think there's so many different tools out there that people can use, which I would say a lot of people aren't. If I'm like, most recently, I was using sort of the TikTok highlight studio feature where, like the clip thing saves 2 minutes. And you can see even now, and I've not been doing this long enough to really understand it, but you can see when you're scrolling through and you see another content creator that's just literally taken that, cut it down to 30 seconds and then chucked it on TikTok. And then they go, well, I'm not getting the views. You go, yeah, well, obviously you're not getting the views because it's not pristine, it's not print, it's not proper, it's not, it just doesn't work like that. But again, like you said, there's so much to learn. And one thing I certainly have found is that there's so many different people willing to help.
Oh,
so many.
There is,
many.
Mate. Yeah, I've got like 4 or 5 moderators who have approached me, and they're the ones that are like, "Can I be a moderator for you, please? I really want to do this for you." And I'm like, "Yeah, crack on, it's fine."
I get some people asking me to be moderator. I think I don't know about your viewership. Mine tends to be, there's a lot of people that view me that I don't really know. Of course, there's people that I do know in real life and they come in as well. I have had some moderators, but I get random people. Can I be a mod? For what reason? Who are you? What do you want? What do you want from me?
Why do you want to control my life?
Very, very weird.
I do generally just do people I know and trust, and I wouldn't
it's
have no
random. Hard to trust people online, right? As well, like for example, we're obviously having this conversation today, and I've dropped in your streams, you've dropped in mine, and all of that good stuff. I obviously don't know you from Adam, right?
No.
Do you know what I mean? But if you said to me, "Could I be a moderator?" I'd be like, "Yeah, of course you can." But that's weird, isn't it? Because actually, I don't really know you that well, but I think there's probably an element of trust knowing that you're another streamer and doing what you're doing. So it's like, I suppose it's that mutually assured destruction, if not, right? But
no, I agree.
don't know. So I got a question around, you mentioned earlier around PUBG and how you were playing that to a fairly high level and doing what you were doing. Why Call of Duty now?
Well, I genuinely, I think I would still be playing PUBG if they'd have optimized it, if they'd have upgraded it at some point. I don't know if you heard of a game called Super People. That came out briefly and then died very quickly.
I think I did. It was PUBG-esque, but they had some sort of abilities, right? Like Apex.
Yes. Do you know what, mate? It could have been a perfect game, but it never was. But then what got me onto Call of Duty was I've always played Call of Duty my whole entire life. I'm the old generation that used to have to stand outside a shop at midnight to get a game on release. Nice. I remember one year I took a tent because I was like, I am getting this game. So Call of Duty's always been like there. And then as soon I got really into the Battle Royale genre, obviously with PUBG. And then as soon as they released their version, there was no hesitation. I was like, download, let's get on it. Because one thing I hate is we become a generation of just moaners and whingers. Like, I'm not sticking up for the game. Well, I am actually. I don't think Activision could do anything right. And that's how I feel. So if they release Verdansk tomorrow, you'd have a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's great," but you'd have a lot of people saying, "Oh, the movement's still crap," or the gunplay's crap. We become such an entitled society, and my honest opinion is, go back and play those old games and tell me they're good. Because
glasses.
I watch, and I also think the sort of the nostalgia of Verdansk is what makes it so great.
Far outweighs the actual game.
Yeah. If you actually went back and played Verdansk now, you'd go, whoa, actually, I think Warzone 3 might be better. Better movement, better gunplay. But that's my opinion. Yeah.
I do believe that.
Verdansk would be dreadful now without redeploy balloons. They'd have to put redeploy balloons in there.
Yeah.
Because how else are you going to get to the tops of the buildings and stuff without getting
Yeah.
shot as you're trying to climb up a ladder or go into a stairs? They've implemented so many good things, but we just moan about it. But yeah, I've gone
Yeah.
way off subject with regards to why Call of Duty. I genuinely believe it's a great game, mate, and I don't really have many complaints
No,
about the game at all.
I don't think I do really. I think one thing that I think probably could be done better a little bit is managing metas a bit quicker.
Yeah.
I think like I mean, look, I'm well aware that this is through the lens of someone that's playing 8 hours a day, right? So
hmm
for people that are jumping on for 2 hours at the weekend, your battle pass is perfect. You probably haven't even finished it by the end of next season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is. I think Call of Duty in particular, and that's why I asked you the question why Call of Duty. Because I think for me, Call of Duty it's all things to all men all the time.
Yeah.
It's not no longer like some games. For example, Counter Strike.
hmm
Counter Strike is I don't know if you've ever played Counter Strike.
Very briefly.
Yeah, but the skill gap is immense. To be any good at that game, you have to be one of the greatest, or otherwise you're
Yeah.
not going to be enjoying yourself. I think Apex is very niche and it works, but only for a specific set of people.
hmm
Battlefield tends to be the same sort of thing again. You know, it's a very specific type game. Call of
Yeah.
Duty it's for everyone, and
Yeah.
for it to be for everyone, it then has to piss people off in the short term, right? Because it's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
100%.
a massive outfit, and I don't think I have much in the way of complaints about it. I think it's just that I would say skill based matchmaking is a problem for me. Like,
Yeah. I think. Do you know what? Skill based matchmaking is perfect up until you reach a certain level.
yeah,
I can see why they try to implement it to take away those games where you're getting in with like 12 KD players, and they've tried to make it for everyone. But then what they've done for the people who are, 2 KD or above, let's say, even lower, I'd say 1.5 KD lobbies and not 1.5 KD lobbies. You're getting in the top lobbies consistently. And there needs to be a fluctuation of like the lobby you're going into. Like suppose like the old days, like the old days when you play multiplayer, you'd get a game where you were in there with absolute bots, and then the next one would be things. But
yeah,
they're never gonna please both categories. They're never gonna please full-time gamers and casuals together. There's a lot of people that think that they're leaning towards helping the casual gamers out, but I genuinely don't believe that, because my friends, I've got a few friends that I play with. One's a fireman, spends a lot of hours out of the house.
yeah,
He comes online, and the game is definitely not set out to help him,
no,
because he hasn't got the meta guns leveled up. He's jumping into lobbies with 3, 4, 5 KD players, getting
yeah,
1 or 2 kills. The game's not fun for that casual player. So
no.
I don't think skill-based matchmaking works for anybody.
yeah.
Hence why people use VPNs. But,
And that's a perfect segue.
yeah, it is. It is, mate. I think
Talk to me about VPNs. What's your thoughts?
of recent, I've always been massively on the fence. I hate seeing these videos where people, get this VPN, use my 10% discount code now, blah, 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 it works. And I've been like, no, it doesn't. You're just robbing money off people. So I purchased the VPN, and it was very hit and miss. Now, they make these videos sound like so simple. Download the VPN and it works wonders. It depends on the location you're picking, depends on the time of day. The lobbies I've played in recently have been significantly easier. Does that mean I'm cheating? No. I've just taken away the skill-based matchmaking level, because there are still some absolute demons in those lobbies doing exactly what I'm doing. So my opinion of a VPN is, if Call of Duty don't like people using a VPN, then they need to get rid of skill-based matchmaking.
Yeah,
Because that's all people are using a VPN for. The only you're not using a VPN because you want to get 50, 60 kills. You're using a VPN because you want to have enjoyment in a game, whether that's 5 or 6 kills or 20 kills. It's not about winning. It's about being in a competitive gunfight rather than just spawning, looting, dying.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think I mean, look, I've certainly used VPN, certainly in the past couple of weeks in particular. I mean, you've had a conversation about this off stream, right? And I think it has leveled up my stream no
Hmm.
end, absolutely no end, because it like you said, it's not about dropping in 30, 40, 50, but whatever it may be. It's about me being able to entertain, do the things for the audience, as well as being able to focus on a gameplay that isn't necessarily demanding 100% of my attention.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
really leads me to a question that I had actually for you around how do you manage the balance between audiences focusing on gameplay? But it sounds like maybe that's the VPN doing that, right?
Do you know what? Literally, it's been 2 weeks that I've been using a VPN. Probably
Yeah.
2 weeks. But beforehand, it's just something you've got to get used to straight away, isn't it? If you ignore the chat, the community, people start to, you have a little glance at your second monitor and you're like, oh, people are complaining that I'm not replying to chat. It's something you just pick up straight away. Like I tried explaining, everyone knows I've got my missus involved in this, and she literally is just focused on the monitor and that's it. And I've just said to her, like, every time you reload, have a glance. Every time, you take cover. And I genuinely believe that it's not the community, the chat. Some of them, a percentage of them might be there to see your gameplay, but the majority of them are there to talk to you. Whether that's asking you about a loadout, asking you, what your KD is, asking you what the weapon skin is you've got. Chat generally are just there to talk to you. So I try to focus mainly on responding to them rather than my gameplay. And I used to be, me and my best mate, we're so competitive. And I used to be so focused on KD, wins. And I'd say since March time, my whole perception of Warzone and why I'm playing it has totally changed. I'm not playing it to get a 3KD anymore. I'm playing it to entertain people.
Yeah,
so
that's really important, actually. I think, and it's something that I was having the same sort of conversation with my missus this week around why, the why behind it, the why are we doing this, the why do we turn up, the why do we get on, and my why has changed exponentially in the past couple of months in particular. I think I've started because I wanted to try because I'd seen other people do it. I turned up and continued to do it because I genuinely felt like I could compete. And actually now I'm the product, not the game. I'm the product. And then
exactly.
that sounds so big-headed and so arrogant sometimes. But actually, you hit the nail on the head when you first turned up. But today it was actually people are tuning in for you. They're not tuning in, not tuning in for the game. Although, look, the game helps, right? If I was playing Roblox, like people probably aren't going to be that interested, right? But I think it's around engaging with your audience as well.
Exactly.
How do you think you engage with your audience perhaps more than some other people you might have seen?
Do you know what? I actually tear my hair out sometimes thinking, how are some people doing so well and I'm not? Because I feel like I'm so
yeah,
so well. I feel like I do. I feel like I engage with people so well, and I just think, why? Why is it? But that's time. It's I get it, and people aren't there. Again, it goes down to 50% of your community might be there for you. 50% might be because you're an absolute demon at the game and they just want to get better at it. So you've got to toe the line with what you do and how you come across to the stream, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, I think there's it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think engaging with my audience, for example, I think I'm I'm over the top a lot. I think that's who I am, and to be fair, I'm like it off stream as well as I am on stream.
Yeah.
In fairness, there's no real difference. Whereas I see some people, like you've said, sometimes you drop in. I think this is another thing actually, and just a bit of a tangent, just quickly, right? I don't have any social media. I haven't had social media, like personally, I haven't had social media ever. I think I had a Facebook account in 2010, maybe long time ago. But as it stands, I have nothing, and I still have nothing to this day.
Wow.
And the big thing for me doing this, so obviously social media now is what I earn. Like that's where I am. That's what I'm doing, right? But I'm
Yeah.
still deadly against social media for that reason and that reason alone. Like you just mentioned there, was you drop into other people's streams or you look at other people and you go, how the fuck are they doing better? I don't get it. I don't get how they're
Yeah.
doing better than me. Why are they doing better than me? And I think social media is built around that exact thing there.
Yeah.
Is I see them doing more.
Yeah.
How do I do more? Right.
Hmm.
And regardless of whether or not that's good for some people, right? Because it drives people. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure, like I'm probably speaking for both of us here, but it drives me to do more because I see
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
getting more, right? But I am also well aware that it can have the opposite effect on a lot of people.
Hmm.
People
Yeah.
go, I'm not good enough. I can't do
Yeah.
this. And I find that for me is really quite, that thought in itself has me tearing my hair out. I drop into some
Mm.
channels and I see they've got like 400, 500 viewers at any one time. And you think, how? But having said that, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I would rather have 50, maybe 60 viewers that are engaging, commenting, chatting, song requests, question, whatever it may be, than
Yeah.
500 that don't.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that one. And I think a lot of the people that have got, like you say, 400-500 people in the chat, and the comments aren't going up. The likes, for instance, I've seen people with like 500 people in their stream, and they've got
No likes.
50 likes. I'm racking up 60k likes with like 15 people, and they might be smashing it. But you know, it proves that those 15 people are there to try and help.
Yeah.
Because obviously the likes help you get in the For You page and the recommendation page, and you're getting up there, and by the chat. That's another thing. As much as I stream, I watch streamers as well. So
Yes.
I am as part of other people's communities, and you do it. You press the likes, you send the gifts because you feel like you want that person to do well. Whereas, like you're saying, those chats where they've got 500 people and there's nothing coming through, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, for me though, like it's contradictory to what I think streaming is, right? Like that exactly what you just described there about being part of communities and jumping in. And for me, I love helping. Like I love like I know sometimes I've dropped into. There's a couple of guys that are actually doing pretty well now, and I don't think it was because of me, although it might be. Hey, I don't know, got the golden thoughts, but they're doing really well now. But I remember jumping in when they had one viewer or two viewers and the audio was awful, the video was terrible. And I'm just going, look, I think if you just tweak this, and I don't even know that much, but stuff that I've learned and I'm thinking, well, cheat code, pass it on,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And I can't for the life of me work out why you would want 500 viewers and no likes and no comments. Do you want people why would you want people just to watch it? That must be a certain level of arrogance for someone to have that inside them to go, yeah, I just want you.
Yeah. The viewership obviously helps their ego because it does it. It boosts me when I see I've got like 100 people in the chat. I'm over the moon. I become like some ADHD driven teenager. It's weird, but like it's got to be nothing other than ego. And does it help them? In the long run, no, because it's a bit like this boosting up the gaming rankings. I can go on about that all day long. And, by boosting yourself up the gaming rankings, you're giving yourself a false sort of standing with how you can make it a career. So, for instance, I've had one gifter that has gifted significantly a lot.
Yeah.
And I tell that person every stream, do not gift me.
Yeah.
Because it gives me, when that gifter goes,
you got nothing.
And I gave up my full-time job.
Yeah.
And I go back to, not earning as much as what I'd like. It's a bad thing. So I just want, what's the word I was looking for? I can't even think of the word. But yeah, genuine people in the chat, because I think a lot of these people that do have 400 or 500 possibly have fake accounts drifting around. And
I think there's definitely an element of that, right? I think when I first being wet behind the ears in terms of jumping straight into streaming at like the end of February or whatever, and I think where also I had the element of not being part of social media before, I almost had this added like everyone knows that social media wasn't real, and I was always dead against social media anyway because I knew that it wasn't real. But actually,
Yeah.
when I was part of it, and then I'm jumping in, and like you've just said there, people like, for example, you see certain streamers on TikTok, and no names will be named here by any stretch, but you see certain streamers on TikTok that always have the same amount of viewers,
Yeah.
always, and mine
Yeah.
fluctuates a lot. Like I
Oh,
don't.
100%.
You always have like I have my standard people where you got your subs and stuff. They come in and
Course.
it'll always loiter around a certain number, but it may jump up to 80, 90, 100, but it will
Yeah.
drop down to 40, 30,
Oh,
20
yeah.
as well. And it's like
Exactly.
that pretty consistently. If I'm watching a streamer and they've got pretty consistently 150, and every time I jump in, whether it's a Tuesday or a Saturday, and it's 9 in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, and they've always got, so you think, I'm not having it. I'm not having it, I'm afraid. There's something afoot there, you know?
Yeah.
It seems to me really strange. But then there's some people that actively will be quite open about that as well.
Yeah.
Like you ask
Yeah,
them, go, no, yeah, I've got like I think there's Discord groups you can be part of that
Yeah.
you just put your thing in, they go, yeah, we'll all just come and jump on as well.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think that's an element of, it's a false sense of security, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why would you want that?
It can't last. It can't last. So, like, you know, flip side, the people who have only got 3 or 4 viewers in their stream, but they're hitting 300k diamonds and they're in the top 5 rankings every week. You know, if they are boosting their own accounts to get up the gaming rankings, it's gonna fail because when they stop,
it's not sustainable.
When they stop boosting themselves, they're not going to be able to make this a career. And you know, like you said before, I'd rather have 10, 15 people coming in that are genuinely there to see me. And you know, at the moment, I'm quite fortunate that I'm still doing my full-time job. I don't require gifts, and I don't beg as such. And chat enjoys the fact that you don't beg. They really do. I get it all the time. People coming in and saying, like, you know, you're my favorite streamer because you're not constantly begging for gifts. And would that change if this was my career? It possibly would have to, because then it becomes, you know, I need those subscribers and those gifters. And so it's very hard. It's very hard to sort of maintain who you are as a person, but understand that, shit, I need to actually make some money today.
Yeah, I likened it because obviously I'm going through that sort of process at the moment, right? I've decided that for a number of reasons, by the way, I didn't just go, yeah, I'm the world's best streamer, I can make this, I can do this. I just jumped in head first, right? But I always fed up with doing what I was doing anyway, and I needed some time away. And obviously, I'm at the end of my first week full-time streaming, if you like, sort of 8 hours a day. It's exactly the same as busking. It's exactly the same as busking. There's no different whatsoever. Like but the one thing you don't see buskers doing per se, or good buskers, let's say, is sat there going, "Please give me some money." Do you know, they do what they do, and then they get given the money for doing so.
Yeah. Do you know what, mate? That's a perfect example of what it is. It is just, it's online busking.
That's exactly it. And it's crazy.
We're putting ourselves out there, and if people were willingly enough to do it, then they'll do it. But I won't ask for it as yet.
I think I've been really fortunate that really fortunate that I've managed to find or managed to connect with a group of people that are quite they're very giving, you know, they're very, I can't remember the word, charitable, whatever it may be. Yeah, charitable. Yeah, I'm a charity now. That's why I am. But they are very giving in a number of different ways, right? Sharing, liking, following, subbing, gifts, or whatever that may be. And I am very, very fortunate. I do find that as this time goes on, and as I get to a point of which I will need more money, right? I will have to find something to do. And whether that is, I don't think I'll ever go towards the begging of things, or I hope that I won't, right? I think if I have to do something like that, everything that I am is gone, probably, because my whole brand is me being me and doing what I'm doing.
Exactly,
Yeah, shouldn't need to have to ask people for the money.
No, 100% no. If it's gonna come, it's gonna come. You know that I've talked with my missus about this, and you know, I think giveaways would be a great thing, great idea. I'm obviously going to try some branding and stuff like that.
Yeah, some merch stuff.
Bit of merch, because you know, there's many different ways to sort of make a little bit whilst giving at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's the road I'm going to potentially go down is gift a lot or put out some, not raffles as such, because I don't know, raffle off my pair of Nike Air Max that I've worn for the past 5 years.
Give
Some
anything.
random, yeah.
So
No, but
we've talked an awful lot about like a good community, having good people around you, and having those gifters and stuff. How do you handle negative sort of trolls, comments, and stuff like that?
quite hard, isn't it? At times, moderators help out massively.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, when I first started, I was a little bit naive to it. I joked with trolls in the chat,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then they'd say something really stupid, and it can cause your stream to get restricted, and that's
Absolutely.
where I was at. So I started streaming in January, but I actually technically only really started until in March, because I was restricted for the whole time of January, February, and March. March the 20th, I think
What
my
happened there
restriction
then?
ended.
Do you mind going into that?
So TikTok give me random restrictions for unoriginal content, pre-recorded content warnings I was getting. And with each of those, they'd give you like a 7-day, then another 7-day, and then it
Okay.
turned to 30 days. But because I was streaming daily, the 30 days was just resetting. And I genuinely, for the life of me, couldn't work out why I was getting these unoriginal content warnings. I decided to make, was it my TV or was it,
Yeah.
I went around the houses with what was causing it. I did get restrictions for somebody in my chat saying something silly. So going back to the trolls, I tend to kick it in the bud straight away. As soon as one of my moderators sees it, I'm like, just nothing over the top. Mute them from the entire live. Mute them for 5 minutes doesn't work.
It's not good enough.
Mute them for the live. Just get out. But if they continue to do it, I'll block them straight away. Just block. They'll create another account and come back. It's what they
if they're
do.
that bothered. Yeah.
But like, I had a conversation with Gemma about this the other day, because obviously I bring her in and she gets a lot of stick in the chat.
I don't know why. You got some bollocks to be doing that. To be fair, I think it's very like, because I just on that. I think I do this and I love doing this, but I'm very thick-skinned. Very thick-skinned. Just have been. I'm a lad. I'm a pompey boy. It's just the way we are. If I brought my missus onto here, she would cry instantaneously. I think she would fall apart. How does Gemma? How does, if you don't mind ask? How does Gemma find doing that sorts of stuff?
She doesn't mind it. She's a bit like myself. She understands that there's more positivity than there is negativity.
Okay.
And I always tell her, just focus on the people that are telling you good stuff, and the bad stuff. They're just so. Like, streaming is I wouldn't say it's saturated, because it's not really saturated that much, I don't think. But not only do you have to, streaming isn't about, how can I say it? I basically found a niche. I thought, do you know what? Bringing my missus in, because people were, what made me make that decision was because where my camera is, it's usually like pointing in my whole living room, isn't it? And I've got the traffic coming through, and the community that I've sort of like built up, I've sort of get to know me and my family, which we're an open book. I'm very thick-skinned. I've got 2 teenage daughters, and if people come in and say stupid shit, they're out. And I just thought to myself, do you know what? I've been telling Gemma to do this for a long, long time. Let's just sit her down and let her play. And it went mental.
Yeah.
I went from like 20 people watching to over 400. And yes, they're only there for a certain reason.
Of course they are.
But what I will say is Call of Duty has got a massive female sort of player base.
Yeah.
And all the positiveness is coming from the female side of the gaming.
Yeah, okay.
And they've joined me to come and watch Gemma's hourly, weekly games, which, it's a win-win for both of us. It's a win-win for both of us. I've gone from March, where I had, I think, 1,300 followers. We're now in June. I've got over 5,000.
Yeah, crazy good.
I'm not going to lie. 60-70% of that is because of Gemma playing.
Yeah,
It's
but it
because
works, and
we've
that's all that
introduced
matters.
something different. Yeah. People are actually interested to see her development. It's really
Yeah.
weird, isn't it?
No, I don't think. I think it makes sense, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think the one thing about the streaming thing is that you are involved with that person and everything that's
Hmm.
going on with them. So actually,
Yeah.
being able to, for you to be able to give them an opportunity to step in at the start, as
Yeah.
opposed to stepping in 30 years down the line. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's it's a really niche thing to be able to do,
Yeah.
and
Well,
and it
people come
acts
in and
great.
go on. Sorry.
No. It's what I was going to say. It's just great.
I just people come in now and they say to her, like, when she's playing, they say, "Oh my God, I was here on the first time you played. You improved so much," and like, that's
Yeah.
good to see,
Yeah,
because
it's
that
really
proves that
good.
they're in it for the long haul, aren't they? And they've not fed into what we're selling, because like you, sometimes I'm a little bit too much of an open book, and
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know, rather than I don't mean feeding into what we're trying to sell, because we are just who we are. I am who I am. Gemma's decided to come in, get involved, and it's working. So that's just the way we're going to go with it. She'll probably get her own TikTok, her own setup, and outshine me within months, because that's just the way it works, isn't it? Um,
I think it's a really, it probably is the one thing that I've found from starting this whole thing is that I love my community and I love doing what I'm doing, but it's so evident that people are feeble minded. Like, they will jump on something as soon as it happens,
yeah.
and it's all new and great
Hmm.
and cool, and everyone's interested, and then next week it's nothing again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that probably brings me on to somewhere I'm well aware. By the way, I'm not really sure how long you'd had penned in for this.
Go, mate. Go. You're all
Okay,
right. There's
cool,
nothing
cool.
penned in. I'm just sitting here chatting.
Cool. But it brings me on to one of my next things. Actually, I've got probably a two-part question. I think
Okay.
first of all, bit lost my train of thought now. Talking around. Oh yeah, fickle and feeble-minded. So first of all, how do you think, you've obviously got the Gemma stuff, and that's really good and that's quality, and like you said, probably maybe we'll go on to do our own TikTok stuff, and that'd be great. What's the plan for you? Where do you see this going in terms of ideas for future streams, content, all of that good stuff? How do you come up with that sorts of stuff?
To other people, see what's sort of trending with regards to Call of Duty with the loadouts and stuff. Like I say, it's just boring, isn't it? Watching them over and over and over. But you've got to create them. I see that the next step for me is to. People always ask me, why don't you do meta builds, and why don't you make videos on that, down that sort of line? And it's because, one, I don't know how to.
Yeah,
you
understood.
know, um, Two, it's finding the time to create that. So let's say the meta was the blooming Renetti again. So
Yeah,
I've got to get a good bit of gameplay in using the Renetti. I've then got to go away, clip it all, put it together. And like you said, I stream for 12, 13 hours a day. I
yeah,
literally come off and go straight to bed.
dead. Yeah, literally.
Um, so next for me would be become more organized in what I'm doing. And listen to what a lot of people have said in the past. Actually, this is years ago, by the way, when I first started streaming on Mixer, then Twitch. Was streaming alone doesn't build your profile. It's the content you're creating which has a massive percentage of who sees you. Because when you're live, and the
Yeah,
consistent people will be there. You might get the odd few flick through. Twitch is a different kettle of fish, and stuff like Kick and but TikTok, for instance, the traffic is immense on TikTok.
yeah,
That's why I
of
like
course.
it.
Yeah,
But you've got to. I need to focus on creating content,
yeah,
and building that sort of content portfolio, ready to just throw out there on a daily basis, whether it's 2 or 3 times a day. And then who knows, mate? I genuinely would like this to be my full-time job. Financially, it's not doable at the
yeah. It's not
moment,
viable.
which Um, but I do believe, and I am a firm believer, that if you put in the time, put in the effort, and it'll work, and it will work. And I say this to you as well, with, like, taking the leap and trying something. You've got to give it a little bit of time.
Yeah,
You've
for
got to
sure.
take a little bit of a hit, but I genuinely believe it will work, because as long as your personality is, as long as you're true, and
Yeah.
as long as you're honest, and you are who you are, you're none of this fakeness that you see constantly. And I think it will work. And then obviously you've got the multi-streaming aspect and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
Yeah, I think there's like that leads me on to the second part of my question, right? Is well, two again. I've got so many questions, as I'm sure you can tell, just firing them at you. Is there, having known all of this stuff now and being in and out and sort of giving it a full go now at the moment as you do in terms of streaming, you know what you need to do to get there next, right? That next piece, that next step, which is great because that's part of the issue, isn't it? If you've got
yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
direction, you're struggling.
hmm
Is there anything that you wish you knew before you started streaming? Something that would have just really started you off right?
So I wish I'd come to TikTok a lot sooner. And I don't mean to, I know this is going to be across multiple platforms. So, but what I am going to say is, so like, I streamed to another platform for nearly 2 years with,
Yeah,
I can count the amount of people that be in my stream on my hand.
yeah, yeah.
And it's simply because it's a very niche thing. People don't know what that is.
Of course.
Whereas everybody and their dog has got TikTok, and the traffic. So what I wished I'd have done, I wished I'd have maybe focused more on a certain social media site sooner.
You can say the
Because
sites, by the way. It doesn't matter.
yeah, I wish I'd have just concentrated on TikTok to start with. Obviously, there's the ventures to go across to other networks and stuff like that. Yes, that's there. I want to go to Kick. I want to be on Twitch as well. But that obviously boils down to my setup.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
um,
Okay.
but yeah, and maybe I wished I'd have. What would I wish I'd have known? I wish I'd have like looked into like how to build. Like, I'm not very social media. I've got all these platforms, but I'm never
Yeah.
on them. I'm never on Facebook. I'm never on Instagram. I'm never on Twitter. I've got them all, never used them. I wish I'd have maybe researched and looked into the social media aspect of it all. Because I think my initial first attempt at streaming may have gone a lot better if I'd have known all those things now. Then,
Yeah, I get that. I do.
because I literally just turned my PC on and played the game and hoped people in Twitch would come and watch me, but it never happened.
It's so silly, isn't it? To like, I don't mean to be derogatory by any stretch, but that whole mentality of jumping on and streaming, and then just expecting the world to go, oh, "He's a phenomenon! Get him quickly, sign him up!" As if like the whole world was going to go, "Yeah, this was the guy that we were missing. He's in this little town up north or whatever." You know, like there's, I think again that comes with an incredible level of possible arrogance, really, in yourself to think for 1 second that you are the be all and end all. When in actuality, as with everything in life, right, the people that look like they grew up overnight and turned up actually have put years and years into it behind the scenes, and you've just seen it overnight, right?
Yeah.
And I think that actually leads me to another question. Like, what advice would you give to some aspiring people out there that possibly haven't taken the leap in trying to do something like this? Is there anything that you could give them in the way of sort of tantalizing tidbits?
A lot of people are scared to do it because of, being on camera, not being, exciting enough. But the major one is don't be afraid to be yourself.
Yeah.
And use everything that you've got at your disposal. So use Facebook, share it with your family, share your stream with your family. They might send it off to somebody who's not attached to the family, and share your live. Don't get disheartened when the numbers are low. I always said it as well, like, streaming to yourself, you're not even portraying the person you are. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you've got people in the chat talking to you, you can be as energetic as you want to be. It can be very lonely streaming to yourself. So you've got to ride that storm, and it will eventually, by no means are we big time. I'm no big time streamer, but from streaming to just me and my bot account on my mobile phone that I've got looking at the chat, to having just 4 or 5 people to talk to gives you so much of like a boost. It's so I think that it's quite unmatched. I think when you're actually nobody wants to not be liked. We all want to be liked, and for people to just hit the follow button, and come back the next day and say, what did you have for your tea last night? It gives you something like good, doesn't it? It gives you that fuzziness, and you're like, yes, giving you a reason and a purpose to do it. But for any newbies, just concentrate on getting your audio and visual are massive.
Yeah.
So get your audio. Nothing's worse than hearing 100% gameplay and a minute like, and play with the audio. Get them right. Get your visuals right. Go and buy some cheap lighting off Amazon. I've literally got the worst lighting in the world.
Yeah.
And I think making your environment. What's the word? So most streaming platforms are all scrolly these days. I've noticed Twitch have now gone to a scrolly. I don't know if you've noticed that.
No,
yes. So I went on Twitch the other day, and all the people I follow are now scrollable.
Okay.
So with TikTok, for instance, is very impactful. I'm scrolling away, and if I see it's not even the person, it's the scene, like you've got a nice light behind you, and make it something for people to stop scrolling and go, oh, hang on a minute. He looks quite good. If it's very dark, it's very dingy. If it's just you with your camera, like, hi everyone, you gotta like keep going. That's my only advice. I've streamed on and off for quite a long time, and I've been in the depths of just like, why am I bothering?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've got to keep going.
It's so hard, isn't it? Like, I think that for me, like you said it earlier, like you get buzz. For me, it's addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get she was thinking about it actually, but being there and live and doing what you're doing and having someone genuinely interested for me is not. I think that's something that's missing in society.
Yeah.
We live in a world now. I mean, especially like I live down on the south coast, right? But a lot of my work when I was working was in London and other major cities around the UK that are just filled with dickheads that haven't got the time of day for you. That's all it is. No one's got the time of day for anyone. No one's interested in what you're doing. If they are speaking to you, it's telling you you're a dickhead. Like there's no niceness. It's all gone, right? And I think in the world of streaming in particular, like your stream is your space. And when you see like you're talking around the background and stuff like this for me was non-negotiable. I wouldn't start until I had something like this because of all the times I'd seen someone and you just go, well, there's nothing about that's really, and actually people come in, they go, oh, is that real? Is that like, is it a green screen? It's like, no, it's real. It's definitely there. But then like that starts it's that icebreaker, right? It's that conversation starter. And I think, having the other thing with the audio and the visual in particular, there is nothing worse. And I repeat, and I look straight to the camera, there is nothing worse than jumping onto someone's stream and they go, hello everyone, can you, I get, and you go like, you can't hear a fucking word that anyone is saying.
Yeah.
They're just, and you go, oh, well, I can't hear you, or like the audio's too bad or whatever. And it's all you need is a half decent camera, a microphone of some sort of way of recording your voice and just the gameplay. It's not difficult, but I can appreciate that there is a level of paywall there, right? And the whole point of it is that as you get better, as you do more, you invest more. But I really like what you said there around just like, don't be scared and jump in and give it a go. Because what's the worst that happens?
You're playing the game.
You're doing it anyway.
So my mentality has always been, I'm sitting here playing a game. So why would I not just turn the camera on and have my mic open to the world to judge me? But it sounds really bad, that, but no, it's like, if you're doing it, do it. If you're going to try, if you want to try it, just do it. I can go on to like spec and stuff, but I had a Logitech C920, probably one of the oldest Logitech webcams that are going. Perfect 1080p. It's perfect. It does the job. It's probably on Amazon. I'd imagine it's about 30 quid. And then I had the Blue Snowball, which is like the very lowest level microphone you've got. So like, there's ways. even Steel Series, Sonar, they
Yeah.
do there's like an app. So you can get some cheap Amazon streaming kit. It doesn't have to be named, and you can adjust the levels that way. But like you said, there's nothing worse than having someone like, and that comes down to as well checking your stream
Yeah.
yourself. So you've got to go live.
Yeah.
You've got to go live. So go live and just spend the first 2 minutes of your live ear off, gun shooting, hear me speak. Right.
Yeah.
Have someone in chat who maybe tells you, have a trusted person in chat to say, Johnny, lower your
Your moderator's
mic a
job,
bit.
really, I think.
Yeah. Moderators are good at telling me that I've got the gameplay missing totally. Johnny, your gameplay's not on. I've just won a game with like 30 kills, and they tell me at the end that I've got no gameplay.
Cheers for that.
Also, just quickly going through TikTok, be careful with how long you stream on TikTok, because 2 days worth of my streams were not saved on TikTok because they exceeded the size.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I lost 26 hours of streaming.
Oh, lordy dawdy, that's not good, is it?
So I ran through. Normally, I have my little cut off where I go off for an hour, have something to eat. But I just kept the stream. I ate my McDonald's on stream or whatever, and it didn't save. So try and keep your streams to as little, not as little, but certainly don't stream for 13 hours because it will not save.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, John, you're a nutter. I don't think anyone's really looking at it unless you're doing like subathon stuff, and then it's
that would be quite good.
Yeah, that's part. There are loads of different ideas I would like to do.
Yeah,
I think it's just about getting there in the end. But look, I think we've been at this long enough today. I don't know about you, but to be fair, you're a very likable person, and I could speak to you forever. And it's nice to have a conversation with a like-minded individual doing something the same as me, and I think that's really what I want from these podcasts anyway, is have conversations with people that are in the same area doing the same sort of thing and sharing some of those woes and trials and tribulations and stuff.
No, it's good, mate. I really enjoy it.
Good. Well, thank you ever so much for your time. I'm going to stop the recording now. And what I will do is we'll just go through. Actually, do you want to tell anybody when you're streaming, all of that good stuff, schedules and shit?
So my schedule, Jenny, as you know, is very up and down. Because I work shift pattern and it's never the same. But anytime I stream will be uploaded onto my Discord anyway. So if you follow me, go onto the Discord, and my schedule for that week will be available on there.
Well, there you go then. So you can go over to John's channel, which is the Notorious, which is the hashtag Notorious that ends in a 5 for some bizarre reason. But what I will do is I'm going to be putting together I'll have a separate TikTok channel for stuff like this as well. But I will share some stuff with you, and you can advertise.
Yeah, no drama, mate.
I mean, look, we're right at the start of this, right? But my hope is that this can... I know there's a real niche subset of people that be interested in this, but actually there's loads of different people on TikTok that I know are interested in having these sorts of conversations as well.
Yeah,
so
100%, mate. 100%. And I think you're going to go... You can delete this bit at the end if you want. I think you're going to do well with this podcast, mate. Because... a lot of people do like to hear other people's opinions. I could go on to you. I could talk to you the next 3 hours about, where COD needs to go, or what I feel COD could do better, or, but it's the start. It's the start of something for you and your channel, mate. And I'm happy to try and help out.
Well, I appreciate it. And I think as well, there's obviously an element here that I'm well aware that today is sort of as we've just discussed with the streaming way, it's jump in and have a go. And actually, if it takes one direction as opposed to the other direction, then I'll go with it. I've not got any really grandiose ideas for this. I just want to give people a platform to, of course, advertise themselves and what they're doing, but actually give people an insight to possibly what they haven't seen, which is the behind the scenes of people, normal people like me and you, streaming and trying to do something with it, which is it's hard, and it's nice to be able to talk about.
Do you know what? I will let you go, but what I will say about that is, I've had people in my chat saying, "Oh, here we go, another middle-aged man, trying to stream," and my honest opinion is, try doing it, mate, because it is very, very hard.
Crack on.
It's hard to wake up in the morning sometimes and have the energy that you've had from the night before.
Oh yeah.
it's hard to, even Gemma's noticed. Gemma says to me, my daytime streams are very mellow compared to my evening streams. I don't know whether that's because I've had about 15 coffees or whatnot, but the disco lights come out at night time when I start to dance around the living room. But like, I think the daytime is just, it's very hard. So to anyone who's wants to try it, but don't think it's going to be easy as much as it can be easy. Turn the camera on, put a mic in, give it a whirl. What's the worst that can happen? You turn it off. You don't do it again. You've tried it. But the main thing is don't be disheartened by very little viewers and just continue. Just keep going. We trudge through life anyway. In a day-to-day 9 to 5, you're just trudging through, So why not try and trudge through doing this and try to make something of it?
John, you genuinely could not have put my sentiments into words any better than you have just done there. You're already having a go. Why not try something else and see how we get on?
Exactly.
Let me stop the recording and then I'll say
no worries, dude.
2 seconds.
No worries, man.
Well, thank you everyone for listening and watching. I hope you've enjoyed everything that you've seen here and heard here today. As I said, please go and reach out to Johnny, the Notorious. He streams as and when, and he's got Discord as well. I've been Jenny Melts. You've been awesome. And John, you've been great too. See you later, people.